everybody, it's Andre with the Eaglesoft Field Guide, and I'm here with my buddy Passion. How are you there?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And tell everybody where you are, what state you're in, and what your practice is.
I am residing in Madison, Wisconsin, and I am currently at Hilldale Dental with Dr. Fred Yeager.
Awesome. So we've talked in the past, and actually this is a redo of a video that we recorded. And what we're going to talk about today is actually block scheduling and the perfect day templating for a schedule. And we did all this before, but we're going to do it again because the last time I didn't record it properly. So I'm throwing myself on the sword and we're going to redo this, but it's actually good because now we've had a week to kind of look back and come up with some other ideas on how to do this. So everybody talks about perfect day scheduling. Everybody talks about templating, and in the past, and I go back in dentistry, you're not as old as I am, so God bless you. I've been doing this 32 years, and I remember way back in the 80s when Jennifer D. St. George was talking about meat and potatoes and rocks and pebbles and all that stuff in perfect day scheduling. So I've been through perfect day scheduling a lot, and I do template my schedule. So I'm going to open my schedule and give everybody an idea of how my day is templated. I am showing actually 3 doctors, and I, for the sake of my demo, I actually have one doctor who has 2 columns, and it's just for the sake of my demo. Most of the time I have 2 columns for every one of my doctors, but I have it set up this way just for the demo, so everybody can kind of get an idea of what's going on. But then I have 3 hygienists over on the right side of my screen. So how do you have your schedule set up with a doctor with 1 column, 2 columns? How do you have yours set up?
At the office, we have 1 doctor, 2 assistants, and 1 hygienist. Okay. So the doctor has 2 columns, and then the hygienist has just the 1 column.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's, like I said, that's typical, but I always try to make my schedule look a little bigger when I do these demos so that people can see it. And that's why I have my doctors with just 1 chair each and then 1 with 2, so we can show you how to do these things. But one of the things you'll notice in my schedule is Dr. Beer, who is in that Restore 2 column and the Restore 2 surgical column. Dr. Beer, you can see that he works from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. And it shows where his lunch is. And he only works in, I have it set up in a linear schedule just for the sake of this demo, in 1 chair on every day other than Tuesdays. And in Tuesdays, he works out of his surgical chair. All right. So he does surgery out of that chair and only implant surgery out of that chair. So I just wanted to, so you guys have an idea that I'm not crazy. I just set this up just because this is not a real office and this is just a demo situation. So I'm going to go back to today. And this is how my schedule typically looks. And I've kind of taken the names off of here just so, actually, let me go back and put some names on here so it looks like more of a real schedule. So this is what a real schedule would look like in the office. And this is when the patients are scheduled, normal. Let's go to today again. And now you can see where those templates fall in. And my perfect day is scheduled around production and emergencies. That's how my perfect day is set up. And we're going to look at how we can set up these templates, these perfect day templates. My templates are over here in hygiene, and I can see that from here to here, that's in scaling and replaning, SRP, and then it's a perio maintenance. And then the gold for me is a new patient, and then that's a checkup, and then a little 30-minute checkup here. So I have my perfect day set up over here in hygiene, and we're going to show you how to set it up in your restorative chair. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So we're going to minimize that. And this all starts from having good appointment types. And appointment types are those appointments that, so when you go to schedule an appointment and you choose a color for your appointment, that's the appointment type list. And I'm sure you have a list of appointment types in your office, right, Passion?
Correct. Cool. Yep.
And give me an example of some of the appointment types that you guys use.
So some of the appointment types we use would be restorative. So we have restorative, we have child prophy, adult prophy, crowns, CEREC crowns, implants, Invisalign treatment, or Invisalign follow-up.
Awesome. Right. And see, the cool thing about that is, especially, a lot of my CAD/CAM doctors, when we set up like a CEREC crown prep, the good thing about that is we can show if within that Surat crown prep, and I'm going to just make one up here just so everybody can see what we're talking about. So I'm going to make and I always start all of my doctor's appointment types with a D, and I'm going to do Surat and prep. And then I always start here with a dollar value. How much am I expecting to make out of that appointment for this? So I'm going to put $1,500 just for the sake of it. And then I always give it a color. And whatever you guys want to do, but I'm going to set that color right at the moment. I always show that it's the doctor doing the appointment instead of the hygienist. And I'm going to show that this is a regular appointment and not a preventive appointment. And how long is that appointment going to be? So how long, just for the sake, we'll use your office. How long do you schedule for a Surat crown prep?
2 hours.
2 hours. Okay, so I'm going to do 120 minutes. And then right here is where I can set up doctor and assistant time if that's what the office wants to do. So I can say, okay, the doctor, the assistant seats in the first 5 minutes, and then the doctor comes in and does some prep. So let's say that's 15 minutes. I'm going to just make this up as I go. And then doctor comes back after a little while, say in the 30-minute mark, and does some other stuff. And then the rest of it is the EFTA or RDH or whatever you guys do in your state. And then the doctor comes back and there's more time being spent with the doctor. And then the doctor comes back at the final and does the final cementation. I'm making that up, but you guys can just see where I set up doctor and assistant time within that appointment block. Mm-hmm. And now it's preset. So there's my Dr. Surat prep. And let me go to my schedule and let's put one in here. And I'm going to grab my patient and I'm going to change this over to that Surat prep. And now you can see there's my doctor time and then assistant time and then doctor time and then assistant time and the doctor time and then assistant time and then the doctor time. So you can preset these appointment types however way you want to set them up. But just so you guys know that appointment types will be the thing that drives the perfect day scheduling. Make sense? Mm-hmm. And because I laid in that $1,500 value for that appointment, that put that in there. All right. And let's just, for the sake of it, I'm going to grab a crown D2740. And I actually have a crown Surat specifically set up there. And my crown is $995. So you can see it automatically changed that allotted amount of $1,500 to $995 based on the fee that I put in for the procedure that I put in. So that's what's going to set our goal and our scheduled amount for the day. So the value of the appointment was set. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go.
So when you set up the appointment type and you put the value amount in there, mm-hmm. So that's setting up the appointment type. What does that do for the goal up on the top of the screen there?
Yep. So if I left it at $1,500, imagine doctor says, we're going to do 2 restorations. I don't really know if it's going to be MOD or MO or whatever. Just put it in for a couple fillings. So I could just type in here couple fillings, right? Yep. And based on my appointment type, and you can see I have my appointment types here. I could say this is going to be my restorative medium. And I have that preset. Well, I've got treatment in there. Let me take that out. Okay. So I already say that my restorative medium appointments are valued at $1,000. Mm-hmm. So I could say this is just fillings without knowing what the procedures are going to be. And it will actually put that $1,000 as scheduled services. So it'll be $1,000 towards my daily goal. Mm-hmm. Even though I have no actual procedures scheduled and I have no idea what we're actually doing, I just know we're going to do fillings and I'm going to ballpark it because I know a medium appointment is an hour and I should make about $1,000 for that appointment. Oh. So I preset these appointment types based on, and my appointment types are based on a timeline and not a procedure.
Okay.
So I know a medium appointment is, and I have low, medium, and high. So I know a low appointment is 30 to 45 minutes. I know a medium appointment's an hour and a high appointment is an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And they all have values. So even if I don't schedule anything, it will go towards the goal for the day because I have scheduled $1,000 in procedures, even though I don't know what those procedures are necessarily. But it actually goes towards my scheduled amount. That make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yep. It makes a lot of sense.
Cool. So that's, and like I said, I have very few, and you can see I just put the Zurich in there, but I have very few appointment types because I don't make my appointment types based on the procedures, but for the time. There are only certain ones like endo. I have a very specific endo one because I know what if I put an endo appointment type and it's orange, that means don't schedule against it. So, get out of here. All right. So let's go back to making a perfect day. So let's go back to our front desk. Let's go to list. We're going to go down to on schedule, and we're going to go down to our template designer. And let's schedule a perfect day for, remember I told you Dr. Gray works out of his surgical chair on Tuesdays. So let's create a perfect day for Dr. Gray to work out of that surgical chair. So let's call this, actually it's Dr. Beer. Dr. Beer, Tuesday, perfect. All right, so we're going to make a specific template for how Dr. Beer wants to work on Tuesdays. And that's how specific we can make these. And we can say every Wednesday he wants to do it this way, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he wants to work this way, or whatever you guys want to set up. It's up to you how you want to create these perfect day or days, right? So let's say he doesn't want to start at 8 o'clock. He wants to start at 8:10 just because, he wants a couple of minutes to have some coffee. So at 8:10, he wants to start his day, and he wants to start the day with doing, I don't know, he's crazy. So let's say he wants to do implant surgery first thing in the morning, and that's going to preset at 90 minutes. And let's say, perfect, he wants to do implant surgery for 90 minutes. And then, and this is something I just started doing, he said, I don't want you to schedule anybody, no way, no how, don't put anybody in my schedule. So I actually have an appointment type down here in the very bottom that's blacked out, and it's called do not schedule. So he said for the next 30 minutes, don't put anybody in my schedule. I need a break. So I'm going to schedule that. I'm going to make that as part of his perfect day. That puts us down to 10:10. And at 10:10, he said, you know what, give me something easy because I just want a little, so give me an hour appointment where I can do restorative. And there we go. So now we're down to 11:10, and he goes to lunch at noon. So we got from 11:10 to 12 to do something else. So let's go and add something else here. Let's just say, let's do, I'm going to put whitening in there. And we don't do Zoom anymore. Our whitening takes a whole lot less time. So let's just say it's 50 minutes. All right, now we're at noon. So I just created his perfect Tuesday where he's doing implant surgery, gets a break. He does a little bit of restorative procedure, and then he has a whitening in the chair, but really he's not there because the assistant's going to seat the patient and turn on the machine.
Now, when you're doing that, it doesn't, so in the schedule, it blocks off his lunch. But when you're doing that, that doesn't show where the lunch block is, correct?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
You kind of have to know. And this is, when we talked before, and this is one of the biggest tips I can give anybody, the best thing you could possibly do if you're going to create these templates is to go to your schedule and go out like a year, like wherever your schedule's blank, and then print this blank Monday off. Print a blank Tuesday, print a blank Wednesday, print a blank Thursday, Friday, whatever days you guys are open. Print this off, and then write on this, get a highlighter, and just, you and doctor sit down and work on where you want your perfect day set up to be. And really lay it out before you go back to the screen we were just in, the template designer, to actually lay it out. It's so much easier that way because, yeah, you're right. You don't see this lunch break in there. You don't see where they start or where they end. So it's much better to print it onto, use a printed schedule before you start trying to tackle this job. So let's get rid of our schedule. And there's our perfect Tuesday for Dr. Beer. Now I'm going to go to my on schedule again. Everything starts from on schedule. I'm going to go to my chairs. And Dr. Beer has that surgical chair right there. So there's his surgical chair. And he only works out of there on Tuesdays. So on Tuesday, I'm going to go here and I go Dr. Beer's perfect Tuesday. And I'm going to apply that template that I made to Dr. Beer's Tuesdays. I'll hit OK. Let's open the schedule back up. Notice Dr. Beer's surgical chair has nothing on this day because it's Thursday. And let's go to Tuesday. And there it is. There's that perfect day set up. Now, it's just a color and it's not going to force you to put anything in there. But if I go to schedule a patient, it starts off at that implant surgery.
So so when you go to schedule an appointment, it's going to automatically tell you in the appointment type what should be in there.
It sure will.
And then if you're putting something besides an implant surgery, you'll just click on the appointment type and then change that to whatever you're.
Yep. And then Uncle Andre will yell at you for doing it, but yes, you certainly can. Yeah. I mean, and that's the beauty of block scheduling is, it's a curse and it's a great thing because yes, and people even who've done this on, back in my olden days when I had an appointment book, I would lay that out with a highlighter at the beginning of the year, or in October when I got my new appointment book, I'd lay out my perfect days. And of course, it didn't always match up to how we did things. Mm-hmm. Some offices are using the blocks to actually block and hold certain spots. So it doesn't mean that somebody's not going to move that block around or change some things around. But what it does mean is these are suggestions for what should be in those appointment types. So yeah, I can go in here and I can change this to a denture appointment and I could put 4 dentures in that hour and a half that I had set up for, but my doctor's not going to be happy with me.
No.
Where he's supposed to be doing implant surgery, I just did 4 deliveries of lower dentures. I think I'd probably be looking for a new job the next day. But you can certainly do it. But yes, it does default to the suggested appointment type. And that's why I love that do not schedule thing that shows up because, it really, makes it so that, why is somebody scheduling that spot and it's black and you won't even be able to read the name through it. Mm-hmm. So, that's been a new thing that I've been doing to say, please don't put anybody in that spot. I did it a lot through COVID scheduling where we were sort of staggering patients and not, and skipping some time in between patients. So it's a good way to kind of take a look at the day and see what's going on. But
okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and you can see that I was so specific in saying, that is Dr. Beer's perfect Tuesday, so that I can apply to that day. So don't be afraid to make a perfect day for each day of the week and for each chair. You can be very specific and say, for this doctor, for this day, this is the template that I want. And then when we go back to our list on schedule and office chairs, once we go into these chairs, so let's go back to Dr. Beer. So this is his normal restorative chair. You can see my Dr. Beer Monday, my Dr. Beer Monday. I'm using Monday's template for Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then he has a very specific one on Saturday because he's shorter hours. But that Dr. Beer Monday, I can use for multiple days because he's doing the same thing on those days. But on Tuesdays, I don't want anything in his regular restorative chair because he's got a second chair that he uses on Tuesdays. So you can be very specific to set this up for not only the perfect day, but the day in each chair. And like you said, you have 2 chairs for your doctors. So you can say, this is what I want in chair 1, this is what I want in chair 2. And that's why laying it out on paper is so much easier than trying to do it in the computer here.
Now, because I have 2 chairs, is there a way or a possibility of having like both chairs up at the same time and doing a perfect day that way, or do you have to go column by column?
Column by column.
Okay.
Yeah. Column by column. And like I said, if you have it on paper, then it's easy because then you're just looking at the paper and transcribing what you have on the paper into the computer. So you kind of do have both up at the same time because you have the paper copy. So, but what I did is I actually created another Tuesday surgery template. And I'm going to apply that now to Dr. Beer's chair. So before it was remember the implant started at 8:10. So now you can see I've got this is really his perfect day for his surgery. So that's an implant placement and then a break. And then I forget what that one is. Oh, that's a consultation. And then a break and another implant surgery. And then he sees an emergency and then another implant surgery and then a break. And then break and then another consultation at the end of the day. Okay. And this is, the doctor I worked with was a big talker. So I always had to put some sort of buffer in there, especially if I knew that there was going to be a consult coming in. I wanted to make sure that he was doing this long procedure and he had a buffer so that he was ready for that consult.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everybody knows how your office runs, and you can create these perfect days so that it works the way you want it to work. And, I've got a $16,000 goal for the day, so that you can take these numbers so that they wind up matching your production numbers that you want to. So, and you can see once I have all my patients scheduled, this is sort of my perfect day schedule, even though my schedule fell apart here and here and here and here and over here. Even though the day kind of fell apart, I've got a $13,000 goal, and I've even scheduled $16,000 worth of production.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it doesn't matter that the day fell apart.
Right.
So, if once you start working on the schedule the way you like it, you can get it to fit into your norms. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
So you've actually done some of this stuff so far. You've gotten past the paper stage, and you're ready to sort of lay it out into the computer once you guys have your sort of meeting to make sure everything works out right?
Correct. Yep.
Cool. And did that work out better for you to kind of lay it out on paper to see how things are going to happen?
It did, just because, like I mentioned before, he's working out of 2 columns. So, in making sure that the procedures are divided evenly amongst the 2 assistants as well. So it made a lot more sense to kind of lay it out, because I actually changed a few things around as well.
Yeah. And see, I always think in terms of, when I lay out my schedule, I always think in terms of looking at my schedule, not from the procedure standpoint, but from the provider standpoint. And, you've got 1 doctor in this office, there's 3 doctors. I can look at the schedule from if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, this is procedures that we're looking at. And we talked about the procedure types by color. And now I'm looking at the providers. So I know that this is Dr. Gray, who's weird, but he's blue. So Dr. Gray is doing that injection and that exam and that exam and that exam and that exam. So when I'm looking at the schedule, I'm looking at it a couple different ways. I want to be able to see where my doctors need to be as I'm building those templates for my production, because we know if hygiene is scheduled like they're typically scheduled with exam, I can see, like here, where there's going to be slices. If like 1 doctor, I can see where there's going to be slices through my schedule where these doctors got to go over and do exams. So I can quickly look at my hygiene day and say, okay, now I can see where those I always look at scheduling like Lego blocks. How does the peg fit into the holes? Because that peg, in theory, is that hygiene exam that needs to be done. So the doctor's out of his operatory, that's the hole that happens in his schedule. So I've got to figure out how those pegs and those holes line up in order to be able to create those perfect days. Cool. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So here's the thing, a lot of offices, if the only hiccup with the perfect day scheduling is if you go into summer hours or winter hours, things like that, the schedule changes, Memorial Day to Labor Day. If that happens, your templates aren't going to carry forward. They're fixed. So what you might want to do when you set this up is create your Memorial Day to Labor Day perfect days, and then your Labor Day to Memorial Day perfect days, so that you can turn those on and off as you get to those dates. But you can't have them on at the same time. So just so everybody knows, it's a fixed number. Once you put them in, they're going to be fixed. But if you create them ahead of time, you can always just turn on one, turn on the other when you're ready for it. Cool.
Cool.
So does that help?
It does, yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that helped. And if anybody else has any questions about perfect day schedule, I'll give them your phone number, right?
Yeah, that works too. Yeah.
Yeah. So all the information will be sort of below in the comments for this video. And you guys, if you're part of the Eaglesoft Field Guide, you can always find information there, or you can always reach out to me through any social media and get in touch with me. And Passion, thank you so much for doing this. And we're going to be doing some more videos real soon, right?
Correct.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.